So tell me about any of these freshmen. Are
Yeah.
any of these true freshmen capable, from what you've seen or heard right now? I know we're not even into fall practice yet, but have you heard anything about any of these players where they could contribute this year?
Oh yes. Okay, so let's just start with the receivers because those are potentially going to be instant impact guys. So Isaiah Mosey and Cortez Mills. Isaiah Mosey is the son of Jamar Mosey, who was an assistant coach on the team. He was heading to Oregon as a recruit until Matt Rule hired his dad, and then now Isaiah Mosey is at
I
Nebraska.
love it.
Yeah,
There you
and
go.
He's incredible. I really like Isaiah Mosey. We got to see in the brief moments that we did get to see them work out at practice and a spring practice. Isaiah Mosey, he just looks electric. He's 6'1". He's well built at around 200 pounds. I just think he's going to be a slot receiver, but watch for him to move around. You watch his highlight tape if you watch his high school highlight tape, he is moving around. He's being used in motion. He's taking backfield handoffs. He's doing everything. And I think there's a budding connection with Isaiah Mosey and Dylan Raiola, as specifically in a couple examples during a spring practice that I watched with my own eyes. Dylan was loving. It looked like he was having so much fun throwing to Isaiah Mosey because Mosey was getting off the line of scrimmage. He was creating separation from the corner who was defending him. He was catching the football. He wasn't dropping it. He just looked like a starting guy out there. Now, I don't think he's going to start at least right away in the season. He's just a true freshman and needs to learn about this whole college football thing. But I think Isaiah Mosey is going to be a guy who plays more than 4 games in the regular season and blows past that redshirt mark. I think very highly of Isaiah Mosey. Cortez Mills is another one. Looked like he was going to Oklahoma for the longest time until Nebraska eventually won that recruitment, and now he's here in Lincoln, and he's going to be learning from Dane Key. I think so. Dane Key, the transfer from Kentucky, we'll talk to him. He's going to be an instant impact transfer edition. He's the old veteran that's going to be a huge piece to the offense. And I think Cortez Mills is going to be learning right behind him as that traditional X receiver on the line of scrimmage on the outside. I think Cortez Mills has a lot of potential. He needs to get bigger. He needs time in the weight room. He needs time with Kristen Coggin, the football nutritionist on staff, who does an excellent job helping build these guys into Big Ten bodies. So Isaiah Mosey, Cortez Mills, those are the top 2 true freshmen who could do something here at Nebraska in their first years.
Okay.
Just looking at the list, Greg, Dawson Merritt was a good pick, but I think he's in for a redshirt year. Christian Jones is a local guy out of Omaha at inside linebacker, great size already, but there's some older guys in front of him. One kind of sneaky pick that I absolutely love with them, Cade Peterjack from West Fargo, North Dakota. He looks like a Big Ten football player already. He is 6'5". He's around 260 pounds. He just looks like the next Ty Robinson, like a younger version who still needs to develop and still needs to get on the field and get some reps under him to learn about college football. But Cade Peterjack, I am so high on. I think he has potential, and he wasn't in the spring. He wasn't a player that was here in the spring. He was a summer enrollee. But there have been other defensive linemen who have had that same timeline, gotten to Lincoln in the summer and played a lot on the field at Nebraska. Now that was under Terrence Knighton. We'll see how Terry Braden does that.
Okay.
Houston Kayana Torres, offensive lineman from Honolulu. Love him. I think he's going to be a starting center at Nebraska in like 2 to 3 years. I am so high on Houston Kayana Torres. Great looking offensive lineman from offensive line coach Donovan Raiola's home state, Hawaii. So Malcolm Simpson from Texas, dealing with a little bit of an injury right now, but I really like him. Super explosive. And then, Jamarian Parker. Need to talk about Jamarian Parker. So one of the big kind of things that held back Nebraska's offense, according to Matt Rule, was he just didn't have. There wasn't a running back who had that ability to stretch a defense and run away from guys. They didn't really have that breakaway speed guy. Jamarian Parker is the breakaway speed guy. That's why they recruited him. EJ Barthel did an excellent job recruiting Jamarian Parker, because Jamarian Parker, a lot of programs wanted him. And a lot of programs tried to take Jamarian Parker away from Nebraska, but E.J. Barthel had a good enough relationship with Jamarian Parker to keep his commitment. And now he's here in Lincoln. He dealt with a little bit of an injury in spring ball, but they said that it wasn't serious at all. So we expect him back for fall camp and to be available. Now, again, he's a true freshman, and it's just going to be interesting to see how that works out. But he does have some opportunity in Nebraska's running back room behind Emmett Johnson. There's not a ton of like confident like players that the fan base would be super confident in. There's a lot of unknowns. So that maybe provides some opportunity for Jamarian Parker, who, like I said, has that breakaway speed, which is why he was recruited to be here. And then just Connor Booth is a local running back too. Great size, baseball player. At 6'2", 210 pounds. He's has like a good blend of physicality and speed as well. Just a really good athlete. But I don't know. There's just a lot of questions in that running back room right now. Tyson Terry is coming off ACL from the wrestling season. So he's a piece for the future. Maybe like a future Nash Hutmacher type guy in the interior of the D line. But yeah, I just go back to, Jeremiah Jones. Jeremiah Jones looks incredible, Greg. Again, summer enrollee. He wasn't here for the spring, but Jeremiah Jones, Rivals lists him as a three-star athlete, but I don't care. That guy's like a 4-star, 5-star looking guy. He's 6'4". He's around 215 pounds. He looks incredible. First guy off the bus guy. He could play several different positions in college, but Nebraska's going to stick him in the wide receiver room for obvious reasons right now. Maybe a dark horse to see action. This is just based off of looks. You can watch his highlight tape. He just tore everybody up over there in Kentucky where he's from. But I'm very high on Jeremiah Jones too. He's another guy that Missouri tried to flip late. Louisville was trying to get him to go there, but Nebraska's relationships kind of won out, and Jeremiah Jones is a Husker. So Jeremiah Jones is a big one to keep an eye on too.
Where do you think he'll play?
Well, I think he'll ultimately stay at receiver, if I'm being honest. Now, there's potential for him to go on the defensive side of the ball and be an interesting kind of safety. There's a rover position in Nebraska's defense. Well, there was in Tony White's defense. Jeremiah Jones would be a very intriguing rover type guy, a big bodied safety guy who kind of moves around. He can play deep. He can play closer to the line of scrimmage. He can play in space. He can play closer to the line of scrimmage. There's a lot of different things you can do with somebody like Jeremiah Jones, but man, you stick that cat in the receiver room and let him run routes and catch passes over smaller defensive backs, and you're cooking.
Okay, so out of the freshmen, the guys that sounds like that you think could make an impact this season would be the wide receivers, especially Mosey. Mosey's the top guy.
Mosey and Mills.
Mm-hmm. And do you think Parker has a chance this year?
Yes. Yeah, if he's healthy and nobody behind Emmett Johnson, who's the starting running back, there's a lot of pressure. There's going to be a heavy load on Emmett Johnson. And I think that the staff wants to be smart with him and just make sure that kid lasts the entire season. So I think others in that room will need to step up. Quentin Ives, fan base has heard Quentin Ives' name for a long time right now. He was a super raw kid out of New Jersey who E.J. Barthel recruited. He has, if you listen to the coaches, he has taken the next step, and he's going to have a role this season as kind of like that secondary running back. But there's others in the room too that could do that. Just because there's so many questions behind Emmett Johnson in the running back room, I think that's why Jamarian Parker might get an opportunity early if he's healthy. Okay.
So you would probably, it looks like here, because I know we're not going to put all the freshmen on here, but it looks like.
You want me to help out with the depth chart here?
What you would say is that they should, you would suggest that they would add, because Mosey and Mills are here, Parker's here, but they don't have Jones here. Do you think Jones should be a guy that could?
No, that's kind of a reach at this point.
It's a reach for the season.
So okay. He's so new. He just showed up in the summer and hasn't even played a snap of football with pads on.
So any other freshmen?
Let me look at the running back here.
Yeah, right now
we got Emmett Johnson.
You think Booth should also be up there, or
let's put Mekhi Nelson in front of Jamarian Parker right now.
Okay,
that's what my gut would say.
Okay, got it.
Let me look at this other tight end. Yeah, if you're asking me, let's go Luke Lindenmeyer in front of Heinrich Harburg at tight end too.
Okay, so Lindenmeyer is going to be the starting tight end.
Yes, for sure. Heinrich Harburg is in his first year as being a tight end, and he's kind of like he'll probably be like a flex option.
Okay.
Out there.
Anything else on offense?
Yeah, right tackle is just so kind of hard right now. I don't hate Tyler Canuck out there because he's going to be an option out there as well. If Gunnar Gatula is healthy, which he will be for fall camp, he's going to be an option as well. Yeah, other than that, I think it looks pretty good. Obviously, Teddy Prohaska could slide in at right tackle as well.
Sure.
So at this point, right tackle is not super important.
And then defense?
Yeah, defense. Cameron Lenhart. Yeah. Riley Van Poppel, Elijah Judy. That looks pretty solid right there. The Jack Deshaun McCullough from Oklahoma. Yep, big year coming up for him. Willis McGahee right behind him. I think those guys are going to be maybe even on the field at the same time. So it's definitely okay that you have him as the backup. Marcus Watson Trent, big year for him at inside linebacker. Javen Wright's going to be out there. Vincent Shavers. I mean, those are going to be your top three guys. Watson Trent, Javen Wright, and Vincent Shavers are going to be your top three guys. I'd probably put Gage Stinger instead of Dylan Rogers if I have to be picky.
At middle?
Yep.
Okay, so move Stinger over to middle linebacker number 2.
Yeah, that'd work. I mean, these guys are interchangeable. They're going to be playing.
Where would Rogers go? 3? Or would he be moved to another position?
Yeah, I'd probably put Rogers behind Stinger then. And then
at middle linebacker. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Jones would be behind Rogers?
Yeah, but, Christian Jones is looking like a dude. But he's just young and he's true freshman. And Dylan Rogers has been here for about 3 years, I think. Hasn't played a whole ton, but big year for him. Then the corners.
Secondary looking okay?
Yeah, Andrew Marshall. Yeah, transferred from Idaho. Had a really good year at Idaho. He's expected to be the starting corner opposite of Sierra Wright, which you have. Yep. You know what? For nickelback at the bottom, let's put Hartzog in front of Benning.
Okay, so make switch Hartzog. Yep.
Hartzog in front of Benning for nickelback. And then, free safety. You can just keep that there. Deshaun, Singleton, Marcus Buford. Yep. And then behind those guys, I mean, Ramir Stewart, he's been repping with the linebackers right now, but I don't know if that's too terribly important. I don't think you're going to see Ramir Stewart out there on the field. I mean, he's a young player developing, and he just changed positions. So, but
he changed positions to linebacker?
Yes, he changed positions to inside linebacker.
Okay. Got it. Switch to linebacker. Well, which linebacker spot is he going to play?
I don't think you'd want him in the inside, but so maybe weak side linebacker.
Weak side, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like number 3. Well, look, they got a lot of them there. Okay,
way back.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. All right, excellent. I'll tell Tucker. Tucker does a great job with these depth charts, and let's see. Let me pop because you were talking about some of the transfers. So here they are.
Yes.
Here are some of the biggest ones, and it's interesting because you go all the way down here to Marquise Watson Trent, and you see that he's 339th overall transfer. But it's like you look at his numbers, and it's not like he plays for an FCS school. Come on, or a Division II program. I mean, those are some pretty big numbers. Led the team in tackles for 3 years, over 300 and something tackles total.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, that's
gonna be a big addition, isn't it?
He is a defensive player of the year in the Sun Belt, which plays some good football. Look, better. Yeah, he's short. He's under 6 feet. Around 220, 25 pounds. That's probably why he's been overlooked his entire life on a football field. But that guy can play football. Like you said, you already mentioned the numbers. His numbers stand out. The guy knows how to tackle. He knows how to bring down ball carriers. He's going to be an instant impact addition. And this is a huge year for him because this is his final year of college football. He wants to show NFL personnel and coaching staffs that he can play big time college football. And so he comes to the Big Ten. He's going to have all the opportunity in the world to show what he wants to show. And it's just going to be a huge year for him. he will be one of Nebraska's top tacklers, if I have to guess.
Yeah, he has 356 tackles over the last 3 years, 2 interceptions, a pick six, 26 tackles for loss, and 6 forced fumbles over the last 3 years.
Yep. And if he's listening to this, I'm sorry, but like, he's just going to have to get over the size thing. The Big Ten he's going to be going up against the biggest offensive lineman that he has ever played against in the Big Ten on a consistent weekly basis. And so how he handles that, how he is able to shut off blocks, how he handles double teams is going to, be very, very important. If he can do that at a high level and be consistent at doing all that, then who cares if he's 5'11"? That guy's just a football player.
Yeah. Okay. And then sticking on defense, McCullough also I see there at linebacker.
Huge addition. Deshaun McCullough spent past 2 years at Oklahoma. He was playing Brent Venables' cheetah position, which is kind of a hybrid linebacker safety. And now he comes to Nebraska. He's going to be playing closer to the line of scrimmage. He's going to be doing a lot more on line of scrimmage than he was at Oklahoma. But there's going to be certain packages where Deshaun McCullough, who looks incredible, by the way, 6'5", around 230, 35 pounds. They probably want him at 240 pounds just so he can handle himself in the trenches against those offensive tackles. But Deshaun McCullough, he's going to be used in a lot of different ways. He's going to be lined up as an outside linebacker, a jack linebacker in Nebraska's defensive system. He's going to be blitzing a lot, I think. He's going to be used in space just because he's fast as well. He can play some coverage. But for the most part, I think he's going to be sticking to the line of scrimmage. And he's just going to be, he was a huge offseason portal addition for
because he doesn't have a lot of experience at this point. So that this is a guy that apparently is like ready to take that next step and be a major contributor.
I'd push back on the experience. He has plenty of experience. He was a freshman All-American at Indiana 3 seasons ago. And while he did have some injuries at Oklahoma, he was still on the field quite a bit.
Okay.
He's battled through those injuries. He's played hurt a lot, but he's been on the field. He knows what he's doing on the field.
Okay. So injuries though, he was at Indiana for 1 year?
Yes. Yep. Freshman All-American, played for his dad, before his dad moved to Notre Dame. Then when his dad left, he left to Oklahoma. And spent 2 years there, I believe. So, there's no injury concerns right now with Deshaun McCullough. It was at Oklahoma where he dealt with some stuff that kind of kept him off the field a little bit, but he still played in a fair amount of games. Yeah,
I see that he had a little bit more activity in 2023. That's when he played 10 games. He played 7 games last year, but you do have to go back to 2022 when he played the full 12 games and had his best year as a freshman, like you said. Yeah,
they're trying to get him back to that freshman version at Indiana where he was coming off the edge and he wasn't asked to do so much. I think he was asked to do quite a bit of things at Oklahoma playing that specific cheetah position. But at Nebraska, I think they're going to okay, you're going to go get the quarterback. You're going to defend the run. We're at times going to put you out in space and defend the pass. But I think they're going to let the chains off of Deshaun McCullough and let him go.
Okay. And then what about sticking on defense? What about the number 1 guy rated, Nwaneri from Missouri? Yeah.
Another huge one. I think he was the very first transfer portal addition that Nebraska made in December. Williams Nwaneri has so much potential. So much. He's huge. He's like 6'7", 250 pounds around there. He comes over from Missouri. He didn't play a whole lot. He redshirted there. And so there's just a lot of kind of unknowns about him. But like when you look at him, it's like, how can that guy not be a force on the football field? He's just young. He's developing. He's learning a new system now. The good thing about him being at Nebraska is the support system. And I believe this is right. He played for Jamar Mosey, who was a former high school, who was the Lee's Summit North, I believe, Lee's Summit. Don't quote me on that. High school coach who's on staff right now. His son is Isaiah Mosey, like we talked about. Deshaun McCullough played for Jamar Mosey. And so there's a support system now. And there's a guy who believes in him now and who he can trust and play under and learn and develop and everything. So Williams Nwaneri will get his opportunities on the field. I'd be very, very shocked if he's not out there as one of the core snap players on at the end of the season. When you look at who's played the most snaps, I think Williams Nwaneri is going to be up there on the defensive in terms of defensive linemen. It's just when you're thinking about him, there's just not a lot to go off of because he didn't play a whole lot last year. Like I said earlier, he's just a young developing player still that has a lot of things to learn, but just on the surface, like he has so much tools, his size, his length, his explosiveness. He just needs reps. He needs to get on the field and get reps.
Yeah. Cause I see that we have George and Moore, who are not rated higher. Well, obviously, Nwaneri is the highest rated kid. Is that right? Is that basically because of experience that these guys would probably be ahead of Nwaneri early
I would
on?
put Nwaneri over George. Yes,
you would. Okay. And Moore is more capable at this point of being the number 2 nose tackle.
Yeah. So he didn't play football at all last year. We don't know a whole lot about Gabe Moore. I would put Gabe Moore probably in like the 3rd slot.
Okay.
Sua Lefotu. I'd put Sua Lefotu in front of Gabe Moore and then behind Van Poppel.
Okay. So
Keona Davis is and Williams Nwaneri, Cam Lenhart, Elijah Judy, Van Poppel. Those are going to be your core guys up front.
Okay.
And it doesn't really matter if you list them as starter, backup. They're all going to play.
Okay. And then on offense, you've already mentioned some of these guys. So Dane Key, wow, to be able to get both Dane Key and Hunter.
Oh yeah.
What a nice, because Key was the leading receiver for Kentucky the last 2 years. Hunter was the 2nd leading receiver on Cal last year as a freshman. And now they're on Nebraska.
DeKeel Shorts, the new receivers coach. Guys love him. It looks like players love playing for him. He was a good receiver himself for Dana Holgorsen at West Virginia. He knows what Dana Holgorsen wants in an offense. I just think there's a lot of trust there, and there's a relationship. Dane Key played for DeKeel Shorts at Kentucky last year. DeKeel Shorts was Kentucky's receivers coach. So Dane Key follows DeKeel to Lincoln and will play for Nebraska now, as well as Andrew Verbois. Andrew Verbois is the assistant receivers coach at Nebraska, and he was at Kentucky as well last year, being the assistant for DeKeel Shorts. So there's a whole Kentucky group that came to Nebraska this offseason. So yeah, Dane Key has produced every single season of his college career in the SEC. He's a very impressive receiver. He uses his body so well. He's a hands catcher. He doesn't let it get to his chest and bounce off. He is big enough and strong enough to handle the smaller defensive backs. He's just super experienced, and I think he's going to have a huge year at Nebraska, especially with the quarterback situation. At Kentucky, I mean, he had 3 different quarterbacks, 4 different quarterbacks throwing him the football. None of them are as arm talented as Dylan Raiola is. So the combination of Dylan Raiola and Dana Holgorsen had to have been such a huge factor for Dane Key in deciding where to go in the portal. He was close to going to Georgia. He was close to going some other places like Ole Miss, but that's hard to turn down, Dylan Raiola and play caller like Dana Holgorsen. So I think there's a huge season coming up for Dane Key. He's probably going to lead the team in targets and catches and receiving yards. Who knows?
And then the 2 offensive linemen, you've already mentioned Pritchett, also Rocco Spindler in there too.
Yeah, so let's start with Pritchett. Pritchett he was a massive addition. And he wasn't Nebraska's first pick for tackle in the transfer portal. Nebraska swung and missed on some tackle transfers in the offseason. And so with Elijah Pritchett, he comes in and I think he's going to be pegged as the starting left tackle. And so last year he comes over from Alabama and he was playing at a position at Alabama. What made him he was a former 5-star recruit in the class that he came out of. Yeah. What made him a 5-star was his play at left tackle. He goes to Alabama and Caden Proctor is the left tackle over there. So they move Pritchett around from left tackle, right tackle. He takes snaps at both spots, but he's primarily a right tackle on the field last year. I'll just be honest, Greg, it didn't go well. He didn't play well. He struggled to stay in front of the speed rushers of the SEC. And it just didn't go well. I mean, I did a whole story on it with film clips about how guys were just eating him up, running around. He struggled out there. And I think it was because it wasn't his preferred, it wasn't his best position on the field, but Alabama already had Caden Proctor over there.
And that's why they were okay with letting him go as well, right? Because
I think
there's
so.
no room for him, and that's not his spot.
Yeah. And I think they probably had other options that they were willing to try, because last year was such a disappointment for Elijah Pritchett. But he comes to Nebraska. He's probably going to be the left tackle. That's just my gut. What's that saying? The coaches haven't said anything. But what I think might help Elijah Pritchett as a Big Ten left tackle is when I watched his tape against Wisconsin. Alabama went to Camp Randall and played Wisconsin last year. He did pretty well against the power rushers of the Big Ten, especially, well, I'm only going off of Wisconsin, but Wisconsin had some outside linebackers who could do some things as pass rushers, but they're more power rushers instead of the fast guys that you see in the SEC or who are going around you. Elijah Pritchett did pretty well in blocking those power rushers. So if he's going to be seeing more power rushers in the Big Ten, I think he might perform better, especially when he's at his preferred position at left tackle. So Elijah Pritchett is very, very important this year because he's probably going to be protecting Dylan Raio's blind side. And left tackle last year was it just wasn't really, they had a redshirt freshman starting there for most of the year in Gunnar Gatula. Towards the end of the year, they were rotating Gatula with Micah Mazuka, who's a guard. So there was just some issues at left tackle, but with Elijah Pritchett, everybody's hoping that he's going to be the answer.
And if
Rocco Spindler. Sorry. Yeah, Rocco Spindler. He's your starting right guard, probably. That's where he played at Notre Dame. That's where he played in the college football playoff for Notre Dame. That's where he's most comfortable. And he was a high quality transfer. And so when you get one of those guys, he probably has a healthy NIL package coming along. You probably just play him where he's most comfortable and where he wants to play. And I think that's going to be right guard. So that's going to move Henry Lutovsky probably to the left guard. Henry Lutovsky was a starting right guard last year, and he's only played on the right side at guard, just like Rocco has in his career. But I think Henry Lutovsky might be the guy who switches over to the left side.
By the way, if how do you pronounce his name?
Prohaska.
So if Prohaska is healthy,
yes,
is there a chance that he could go in another position if Pritchett's looking good at left tackle?
Yeah, I think Prohaska could potentially be the right tackle if he's healthy and everything goes well. But again, tough situation with coming off an ACL from last August.
Okay.
But he was out there he was limited. Teddy was during a spring ball. So he has been moving around. He has been doing all that. And they've been super careful with Teddy, obviously, because he has a big time injury history with multiple season ending injuries under his belt, unfortunately. But elsewhere along the offensive line, Gunnar Gatula is going to be important. He was thrown into the fire last year as a redshirt freshman, had to start at left tackle because Turner Corcoran went down with that hamstring injury. He had his ups and downs. I think he's a good young offensive line tackle. But I think if the staff had their wish, if they had a perfect world, Gunnar Gatula wouldn't have been asked to get out there as a second-year player.